The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
You keep saying you got something for me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this
Something you
edition
call
of
love,
Vixens
but
Who
confess.
Rules. And we have a very interesting
You've been a
story
messin'
today.
where you
This
shouldn't have been
Vixen
messin'.
was brought to my attention by some of
now
the members of
someone
the
else
brand,
is
as
getting
many
all your
of
best.
the guests on the show are. She has a unique background, and when I heard the background, I thought it was very, very interesting. And you know, I bring people of all walks of life on the show. You know, we all have different backgrounds. We all have different stories to tell. And I'm talking about today, my guest is Miss Trina Michaels. Trina, how are you today?
Hello, everybody. I'm doing fantastic. I gotta apologize for my voice. I kind of lost it over the weekend. But
Now, did you lose the voice over the weekend, dude? Was there yelling involved? Was there
there
screaming
was
involved?
yelling. I had a show this past Saturday, and I already had a sore throat going into it, and then yelling on the mic and yelling at the fans afterwards just killed my voice. So my apologies, but we'll get through this.
Yeah, because, you know, you tried to get out of the interview, Trina, but I said no. I said,
Oh, no, not at all. I just wanted you to know that I sounded.
yeah, no, I think, you know, you're a big, big stars. They try to pull out the last minute, and my job is to not let them. So I said, no, we'll deal with the voice as long as you're cool with it. Now, before
Yeah.
we get into the interview, there are some things, you know, behind you that are attracting my attention. First of all, I see Huey Lewis in the news. Now, I've never come across somebody that actually has a Huey Lewis album on their wall.
Record, no less.
Yeah, record no less. Will you explain that to me?
Okay, well, the guitars behind me I actually did used to play. I've never actually heard this album. I just have a couple of records on the wall and stuff because I think it looks really cool. My mom had them in the closet, and I was like, hey, can I take these? She's like, sure. So,
Well, I do see, you know, you made me pop a little because above Huey Lewis, I could see a corner of the Abbey Road cover, which of
Yes,
course.
yes.
Now, are you now, please tell me you're a Beatles fan.
you know, a little bit. I do. I like the music, and they are legends in the music world, so gotta respect that.
Now, Trina,
I just like music in general. It's always been a big part of my life. So.
is there somebody you're a big fan of?
Oh, geez. You know what? I'll throw old school country at you. Reba McEntire.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Now, how I can't make the connection there because you know you're a young lady. I'm not going to say your age. I know women don't like that, but you're a young lady. Reba McEntire has been around for a while. So where does that connection come from?
I grew up listening to country music, so you know George Strait, Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson. You know, like.
Now, Trina, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bay Area, like San Jose, San Francisco area. So.
Well, first, man, we got a lot in common. You got the Beatles behind you. I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan. San Francisco is my favorite city in the world, but I don't associate country music with San Francisco. That's more of the hippie, Grateful Dead, Jefferson Starship kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess my mother's not hippie, so I definitely wasn't Grateful Dead. I guess my roots are Southern. I have a lot of family in the South, so that's what I grew up around.
So you grew up your entire life in the Bay Area in San Jose?
Yeah. But you know, when we would go back to visit family, it's Southeast Texas, so you know, very Southern, very small town, and so I guess that's where I get my roots from.
And now you're residing in Florida?
Correct, Miami, yeah.
So how did we make the transition to Miami?
I don't know. I was just looking for a reason to get out of California, and I'll be honest, it was for a boy. So.
But yeah, because you know, Trina.
The only reason we girls do anything for a boy.
Because nobody wants to ever get out of California. Everybody wants to go to California. That's the first time I heard somebody wanting to get out of California.
No, I mean, I guess when you grow up there, you know, you're always looking for a reason to leave where you're from. So.
Now, did it work out? Is the boy still around?
He is. He's in the picture sometimes.
Oh, so it was a good move then?
It was, and it's definitely opened a lot of other opportunities being out here. So,
Okay, now, Trina, we have to get into your story here. Now, listen, you got to understand something, and I'm being perfectly honest. A lot of my questions, honestly, are going to come out of total ignorance.
that's
Just
fine.
so I mean, now is going into this. Is there anything off limits? Is there anything you don't like talking about? I mean, or we good to go?
We're good to go. I'll try to answer as openly and
Yeah,
honestly as I
because
can.
basically, I'm interested in your story. Listen, if anybody knows me, okay, I don't judge anybody. I love all people. I love putting people over. Everybody has different walks in life, and I'm
Yeah,
very interested in people, and
yeah.
that's why when I heard your story, I thought it was a terrific story. Now, you grew up in
Thanks.
the Bay Area. You grew up in the San Jose area. Now, what kind of a kid were you? Growing up in California, just a regular
Um,
footloose, fancy free.
I don't know. I guess I was a pretty normal kid. I got pretty decent grades, A's and B's and stuff, But yeah, just normal, I guess you'd
Yeah,
say.
not Trina.
I grew up going to church and all that stuff.
You
So
remind me very much of like the girl next door. What were
yeah,
you that girl growing up?
yeah, I guess I would describe myself that way. Like I, I, I know in wrestling you're not supposed to be nice, and I'm supposed to play a heel, but I'm a very nice person at heart, and I can't help it. Like
Yeah, I,
I'd
I,
rather be friendly to somebody than.
I can see that 5 minutes talking to you that you're a nice girl. You look like the girl next door. You look like you got a big heart. I like you already. We're five
Yeah,
minutes into the interview.
thanks, man.
Okay,
Gets me in trouble though. Being nice is definitely my biggest weakness. So
yeah, I can
it's cool
understand
though.
that.
Wrestling definitely toughens me up. So
Yeah. Okay, now let me get into this. Now, again, I don't have that much information on you. I picked up a little bits and pieces from Wikipedia. And 99% of the time that stuff isn't even true. So I'm not
yeah,
even sure. But from what I'm understanding now, you graduated high school. Did you go on to college or just start working right away?
I did not. I started working right away. I had a normal job in an office, and um, if I go back to 17-year-old me, I was actually planning to go into like military, and somehow I just made a hard right turn and wound up in entertainment. So
Okay, so like basically though, when you're going to high school and we're getting close to graduation, like like college isn't an option. It's not on your radar. That's not the route you want to go.
yeah, not particularly.
Okay, so you're thinking military, but that doesn't happen. And I'm reading that you had a couple jobs. One, you actually worked in a car insurance office. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And then you were a waitress for some time.
Yeah.
Did you like that? You seem like you'd be a good waitress catering to
Waitressing?
people.
Oh Lord.
You
I
hated
mean,
it?
when you're young, it's cool. But now I don't like people so much. So
Okay, okay, Trina. Now we kind of I don't know if it's a right turn or if it's a left turn. If it totally comes out of nowhere. But of course, now I gotta ask you, some of the questions that I'm interested in. Now, from there, worked in a car insurance, to a waitress. Okay, you now enter into the adult film industry.
yes, yes.
Okay, first of all, you must have been very young. What, 18, 19?
I think I was in my 20s already. Yeah,
Okay. Now, again, what I'm asking you is out of total naiveness.
that's all
And
right.
I've never interviewed anybody that came from the adult world.
No,
So
no.
obviously, my first question is like, how does that happen? Because like I read a lot about sometimes girls answer an ad in the paper and they have no
Yeah,
idea what it is. I mean, there are
it was
some horror stories.
it's
So
something like that.
so
Um,
so what happened?
I mean, getting into that industry is definitely not anything you ever plan, or at least you shouldn't be planning to get into it. Um, I think in a roundabout way, I had wound up putting pictures on a modeling website, and one of the agents in LA had contacted me and, oh, do you want to come do a movie? And I was like, well, I guess let's go check it out. And yeah, I did my first video, and you know, it wasn't bad. It was really easy, I guess you could say. And I just kept doing it.
Well,
You know, and
let me ask you this though, Trina. When you first make the contact or the guy contacts you and he goes, you want to come make a movie, right?
yeah.
Does he tell you what kind of a movie it is, or do you find out when you get there?
I mean, yeah, you knew it was going to be like an X-rated thing. I think I planned a trip to LA and went to the office and met with the agent first and like, you know, kind of found out a little bit how, you know, what they had in mind and how you do things and stuff. Um, let's see.
Now, Trina, I have to ask you this question. By the way you're telling me this story, it kind of sounds to me like you send your pictures into a model agency, and then you get this call, you
Yeah.
want to do a movie, and they explain to you it's an adult movie. So it doesn't seem to me like you were shocked and oh my God. So was this something that was on your radar as a possibility?
No, I never in a million years thought I was going to start doing adult movies. Like I said, it's not something you should ever be like, oh, I'm gonna go film porno. Um, yeah, I really just kind of found myself there. And when you're in the moment, you know, you're not really thinking about it or thinking about the future consequences or, you know, how people are going to look at you down the road. You're just like, oh, cool, let's go, you know, have
Yeah.
fun. Let's go have sex, you know.
Now,
Um,
now, let me again, Trina. Please understand, my questions come out of naivety. I'm just so I'm asking you questions that
it's
I'm
natural
interested
to
in.
be curious about that sort of stuff. It's all good.
Yeah. Now, again, listen. You hear horror stories, and like I've went back and I've seen the Linda Lovelace documentaries that
Yeah.
they drugged her up and all this and all that. So once you get started in this, okay, what what is the appeal to keep doing it? Literally, this pays well, and I'm not doing too much to make a lot of money. Do you like wrestling? People get addicted to the wrestling business. Was this something that an actress gets addicted to this feel like that? What was your
Uh,
case?
I guess you could say that. I never really like thought about it like, oh my God, this is my career. You know, you're in it and you just keep getting calls like, hey, I have this job. Hey, I have that job. And, you know, it's fun getting made up and, you know, people do your makeup every day and you get to wear sexy clothes and you get a lot of attention. And, you know, and then I started traveling and, you know, the bookings just keep coming in. So you just kind of keep going along with it. And you never really like have an exit plan or a next step or anything like that. You just going in the moment, I guess you could say.
Now, Trina, does your family know you're doing this, or do you keep this
Oh
from them?
yes.
Yeah. How'd
Um,
that work out?
they didn't know for the first several years, and then I wound up telling my mom, and you know, of course, she freaked out, and you know, wasn't happy about it, and I just, you know, because she's a very Christian, conservative person, so she, you know, definitely doesn't approve of it. But you know, I just try to explain to her. First of all, it's my life. I don't think I'm a bad person for doing it. I'm not, you know, messed up and I don't think I messed up in a wrong crowd. You know, I still take care of myself responsibly and everything. So, you know, let me follow the path that I'm on, you know, and, you know, we just kind of just don't talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone, you know, she'll bring it up and be like, why, you know, why don't you do this? And I just, you know, tell her, oh, Mom, there's nothing else to talk about. This is where I'm at and
Yeah.
I'm going to follow my course. So,
Trina, let me ask you this. I've been in the wrestling business a long time, as are you now, and we're going to
yeah.
get to that. That's why we're having this interview.
Yeah,
Because,
we have to do the backstory, man.
yeah, definitely. But I want to ask you this. I've always felt, up until the time I was in the business, things may be different now. I don't know. But I always felt in wrestling, women were treated like second-class citizens. I didn't like it. It always pissed me off. I was always a proponent of women in wrestling. In that industry, how are women treated? Because listen, let's face it, at the end of the day, it's a little different because
Yeah.
in the adult film industry, like the women are the stars.
Yeah.
In wrestling, Trina, I worked with so many women that outdrew the men, but nobody would ever play to that. You know what I'm saying? Even those, people like, Sable would draw higher ratings than 75% of the guys. You never went around and paraded that, and you kept her down, and you never pushed it. But in this industry, the women are the stars. That's why guys buy it. So are you treated good? Are you put up on a pedestal, or is there any degradation, whatsoever, or anything like that?
I, from my own personal experiences, like I never felt degraded. I never felt, coerced into anything. I always felt like I had the liberty to say no, which most of the time I was open to whatever. So, but I always felt like I had the option to say no. And you're right. The video world, the focus is the female. We definitely get the higher paychecks than the males. You'd be quite surprised the pay scale difference. Even though I personally kind of think the guys have a little bit harder job in the videos, but
that's interesting. Now I would not know that. Now I got to ask you this: do the guys bitch, moan, and complain about it?
No.
They're just happy to be there, I guess.
The weird thing is guys actually have the liberty of shooting multiple scenes a day. Like most male talent will have like 2, possibly 3 scenes a day, but they're getting paid considerably less than the females. So.
Now, Trina, I went on, I guess, what is it, IMBD, I think that's what it is. Yeah, and I saw, God, it's constant work, though. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. I mean, what I'm getting at is, like, listen, wrestling, especially at the level you're at, you get an independent gig here, you got to fight, scratch, and claw for every booking. But that industry just looks like you go from one project to the next, to the next, to the next. So I'm sure all that work equals a nice little income. And really, it's kind of like at the end of the day, okay, where am I going to get this amount of consistent work and make the money I do? It's like I can almost understand that.
You really can't beat it. Like I could pay my rent in one day from doing a film, like. Yeah. Where else can you make that kind of money?
Now what?
You're also sacrificing a lot as well. So.
Well, speaking of sacrifice, that was my next question. Like, what is dating a bitch? Like, is it hard to have a relationship? The minute you're interested in somebody, they're interested in you, and you tell them what you do for a living. Is that tough?
Yeah, it definitely makes things awkward. Guys at first think that it's really cool to date the porn star. But then reality sets in and you have to be okay with sharing your woman with the world. And guys are either going to be possessive or, they're going to act stupid. And it's like, well, this is my job. It's not who I am. My heart belongs to one person, but my job is to do this,
Trina, it almost seems like once you get into that situation, it's a lot easier to lie to the guy and tell him you're still working as a waitress. Did you ever do that?
No, I'm actually not a very good liar, so no. And lying's not good. Just creates more problems in the long run. So
now I got to ask you a couple of questions here, and then we're going to move on to the next phase of this. But I'm interested in this because I don't know what it means, and you're going to think I'm a complete stupid man. Listen, I got to tell you, Trina, to be honest with you, like I know so many guys are into this. I'm not one of those guys. I got married when I was 22 years old. I've been married for 32 years. Like that was just never my thing. So like there are like some things I honestly don't know, and you're gonna think this guy's an absolute idiot. But the first thing I want to ask you is on your Twitter account. One of the descriptions you have of yourself, and there's a lot of them, but you call yourself Porn Duchess. What does that mean?
I'm just trying to sound clever.
Okay, all right. Okay. Now
myself a porn star.
Now here's one where you're gonna think I'm totally ignorant, because I don't know what this means, and I'm almost afraid to ask. Okay, but I honestly don't know what this means.
Go for it.
I saw that for 2 years for two different companies. You were nominated, and you got nominated for a ton of awards. I mean,
Yeah,
a ton of them.
quite a few. I never won, but hey, at least I got nominated, so
Right.
that's kind of cool.
Is that a big deal in the industry, like to win one of those?
It
Is it a big deal?
it definitely is. We have this whole convention in Vegas every year, and on award night, we get all in our fancy dresses, and we have red carpet and media and everything. And I forget when they started, probably around like 2007. They actually started broadcasting the award show on Showtime, I believe.
Yeah, it is because yeah. As a matter of fact, I think it was on last night when I was flipping through the channels. But does like if you win in like in the Academy Awards, the actor or actresses they win an Oscar, all of a sudden their career skyrockets, bigger roles, more money. Is it the same thing?
I think so. You definitely get a little bit of notoriety saying like I'm an AVN winner. Yeah.
Okay, here's the question now, and then we're going to get on to part B of the interview.
Cool.
I don't know what crossover star of the year means.
Well, that's I guess
Like,
what
am I like
being
totally
able to.
am I totally ignorant that I don't know what that means?
Well, I would think that you would know, but
I see. I don't know. I would think it's a girl and a guy, and then does she cross over to girls?
oh no, I mean
No.
as in being able to cross between industries, going from the film world into wrestling.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I thought it was something having to do inside of the industry.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that
Oh,
makes
okay,
sense
yeah,
to me.
yeah.
Okay, I understand. Okay, now.
I know you're not that ignorant.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm looking. I'm trying to. Well, you know everything that's going on with this Caitlyn Jenner. Who I don't know
Yeah.
what that means.
That I think it's really funny that they're making a big deal about. Oh, let me pay you millions of dollars to make this sex tape. Except yet, I'm the scandalous bad one because it was my job and my profession to do that.
That's a great point. Hey, listen, man. Kim Kardashian nobody would know who she was if it was not for that tape. Period. End of story. Now they want the other one, Kylie, to do a tape. And what was it, like $10 million or something?
Yeah, an insane
absolutely
amount of money, like-
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
So you glorify her, but I'm still the dirty bad person.
yeah, no, I totally understand that. I totally.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man. Kim Kardashian. Do you think she purposely did that? Because
Definitely.
Really, huh? Yeah,
Definitely.
because there are a lot of people that actually say Chris, the mother, was involved in getting it out there because she thought this would be her daughter's claim to fame.
Quite, I would believe that. I wouldn't put it past her. I mean, you can say a lot of bad things about the Kardashians, but they are kind of brilliant at what they do, and they've definitely captured the world's attention.
So Trina, I would have to think then. So you just brought up something very, very interesting. When a Kim Kardashian does a tape or a Pamela Anderson does a tape, and all of a sudden it's glorified. They make all buku money that you guys probably will never see your entire careers.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of negativity looked upon that in the industry?
Upon them for doing it.
No, the actresses as like, are you kidding
us
me?
as actresses.
We do this for a living, and I'm never going to see that kind of money.
Let's see. No, I don't think so. Like I never heard any of the actresses who that's their job to do it. I didn't hear them like saying anything about how come she gets that. Maybe I'm not quite understanding the question.
The question is like if you're doing this for a living and then all of a sudden Kim Kardashian comes along
Because they're making so much money.
Yeah, are you envious?
Because we make a lot of money ourselves. Like in my first few years in the business, I easily grossed $100,000 a year.
Wow.
So we can still make quite a bit of money ourselves. And there's also other revenue sources like your webcamming, feature dancing, that kind of stuff. So
Man, Trina, when you make that kind of money, it's like almost impossible to like. I mean, what are you going to do? Go
yeah,
back to waitressing?
yeah, exactly,
I mean,
right.
that's
No, I
insane.
go to wrestling where I still get paid the same as.
Well, I don't think you get paid that much money in wrestling.
Oh my God, no, I wish. I
Okay,
definitely miss those big paychecks.
so let's talk about the crossover now. So now you're doing this, for a living. You're making a great living doing this. It's steady work, steady income. How the heck does wrestling come into the picture?
Um, oh boy. So again, I don't think it was ever. I didn't know what I was getting myself into when I did my first wrestling shows. It was just kind of, again, like another booking. And then the more I got into it, I started learning the business side and all the little pieces that go into wrestling. And I like being an actress, actor, however you want to say it. And I like putting on those shows. I used to tour for feature dancing, which is, going to strip clubs and you're the big name for the weekend. But, you have to have your costumes and your music and you're putting on a show for these people because you're the special attraction. So, all that kind of rolls over into wrestling for me. Um, I love putting on that show and I love getting into that character and just being that larger than life person and entertaining the audience. So.
So Trina, at first, like, are you being hired as like a valet and being on the
Yeah.
armor woman? Is that how you're getting hired at first?
Um, yeah. Um, a lot of people still use that word valet, and it kind of bothers me because I prefer to call myself a manager.
Okay.
Um, a valet is just there to be tits and ass. And I'm so much more beyond that.
Okay,
I-
okay. Let me ask you this. And I respect that. So they hire you as a manager,
mm,
right? How long is it before you take your first bump?
um, I was taking bumps at the right from the get. I
But
think.
how is that now? Because listen, you just talked about, and I can understand the
Yeah,
correlation. When you're a featured dancer, and you got the beautiful costumes, and people come to see you, and you entertain them, and you put on a show. I could see the correlation. That listen, that's why
yeah,
dancers and wrestlers have a lot in common. We can
yeah,
go on forever. There's a lot in common. But so I can understand the appeal of wrestling, but you're not taking bumps as the featured dancer. So
yeah,
so once now they call you, hey, listen, we need a manager. We want you to be with so and so. But
yeah,
now all of a sudden, hey, by the way, we need you to. He's going to hit you, and you need to bump here, and you need to bump there.
yeah.
I mean, did you immediately say, "Let's go," or
Um,
there had to be
pretty.
a little bit of fear, no?
No, no fear. I don't know. One of my, my Twitter description, since you brought it up earlier, is being hardcore legend, which I'll challenge Mick Foley for that title any day. I was known in the film world for doing pretty extreme stuff and being able to handle a lot of stuff that the other girls might not be able to take as easily. Um, I also got into like the BDSM side of filming as well. Um, and then so when it came to wrestling, uh, wanting to take bombs and be physical in the ring is like, yes, let's do it. I love it. Come on.
But
So,
Trina, let me ask you this: the early stages when you're doing wrestling, are you still making movies?
at the very beginning, I was,
Weren't you worried though about like getting physically beat up and bruised, and now I've got to be on set tomorrow?
no, not really. Again, at that time, I was also involved in the BDSM world, so I was kind of used to being bruised and stuff. Um,
So
yeah,
you,
no,
so
I
you
was never
slowly, so you slowly but surely transition out of the
out
the,
of
the
the
adult.
yeah.
But see
I
now,
think a lot of it had to do with, once I moved to Florida, I wasn't filming as much, I didn't rely on that as much. So I just kind of phased that out.
But I would have to assume you were able to do that because you were able to bankroll a nice little chunk of change from the adult film. Because basically, I mean, at the level you're at, probably it would be tough to make a living just working.
Yes.
Would it be?
Yeah, you definitely don't make a full living on the indie circuit in wrestling.
So Trina, do you go from the manager, you go to taking some kind of wild bumps? You already challenged Mick Foley. I'm sure he's going to catch wind of that. Okay, so now do you start working matches?
I have done a few matches, and actually this past weekend where I lost my voice, I was actually in the ring doing a brawl with another female. So, but that's rare for me. I don't usually get in the ring. I personally, I like developing my character as a manager. It's funny because in real life, I'm pretty quiet and I keep to myself. So being this person on the microphone and having to speak for my guys, it's a challenge, but I like to be challenged. I like to be pushed, and I want to exceed my own expectations of myself. So that's the good thing that comes with wrestling.
So Trina, you really then don't want to become full-blown wrestler?
No, I do not. I like the manager side, and I think, especially on the indies, there are no strong managers known on the indie circuit, and there's definitely not female managers. So it gives me an opportunity and a little niche to work for myself.
Now, Trina, let me ask you this. Listen, when I was writing, for all three companies, I was all about characters first. I mean, absolute characters with, people with really unique backgrounds. Okay, so I would have, come across you and seen what your background was, and use that to your advantage. Because let's face it, nobody else out there has the story that you have to tell. So me personally, if I was still booking or I was still writing, that is a fascinating story. I would tell that story on TV. I would not have a problem doing that. And I'm sure independently, the independent circuit you're working now, I'm sure for those local promoters and whatnot, it's a good story and it's a good draw, and people would come and see you. Okay, true?
You would think, but there's a lot of promoters that say, "Oh, I can't book you because we run at a church. I can't book you because there's kids," and it's the stupidest, lamest excuses ever. Like, first of all, the biggest thing is controversy creates cash. Like, you want that controversy and you want that give and take of I guess good and bad. But yeah, having this person that isn't PG rated, it like you said, it draws people's attention, and it's like, oh, what's her story? What's her deal? Like, what is she gonna do on the show?
The reason why I'm asking you, Trina, because like I said, that it is. If it were me, I'd be all over that. Listen, hey. If we want to go up and down half the roster in the WWE, if we want to go up and down, the roster of guys that were in the Hall of Fame, that have freaking criminal records, that are felons, that were drug addicts, that did this, there's hundreds of them. I mean, we'll literally be here all day. A lot of wrestlers have a checkered past, and I'm not talking about the choice of becoming getting in the adult film business. I'm talking drugs, criminal. That's a whole different.
Like really bad stuff.
Yeah, like really, really bad stuff. So to me, I was like, wow. First of all, for this girl, to go in that industry, which has to be a rough industry to make a living, to make this transition into wrestling, that to me is a great story. But now, here's my concern, and I'm sure this has run through your head. When you look at some of the bigger companies, especially like a WWE, for example, everything in 2015 has to be politically correct. So the fact of the matter is, you could be the greatest manager on the face of the planet, but the minute they hear about what, oh, she used to do what for a living, you're going to wind up getting doors slammed in your face. And it seems like that may be even happening a little bit on the independent scene.
Most definitely.
How are you dealing with that, and how do you think you can overcome that?
It's tricky because, like, when I come into a new promotion, I think people have a lot of preconceived ideas of how I'm going to be, just based on, my past. And I try not to present myself that way. Like, I try to be a professional and a businesswoman. Like, I'm here to do a job. I'm not here to screw around and flirt with the boys and shit. Like, I don't care. Go away. Leave me alone. Like, I just want to do my job. And I just, how I'm overcoming it, I just keep doing what I know how to do and keep pushing and just keep trying to prove myself, I guess you could say, and hopefully move past that stigma that gets placed on me. So.
Now, Trina, are you going out yourself trying to get these bookings, or do you have somebody doing that for you? How's that end of it working for you?
A little bit of both. Just that's how you get. Anybody has to do on their knees is reach out to promotions and send them your demo reels and all that. So I have to do it just the same way as everybody else. And again, I come back with a lot of roadblocks because people can't see past the adult side. But the thing is, I haven't filmed in probably about 4 years now, and I think I've kind of been in wrestling longer than I was in movies. So it's like, all right, it's time to let that go. And it's time to see what I've been doing in the wrestling industry. And
Trina, I'm one of these guys that, listen, I'm a Christian guy, okay? But being a Christian guy, I don't believe in judging anybody. That's not for me.
That's funny because a lot of Christians will tell you, are the opposite.
No, I don't. Listen, God, I believe God created each and every one of us with a purpose and a story, and we go through what we go through in life as part of the journey to where we're eventually supposed to get.
Yes.
So I don't believe in judging, anybody. And God, it's just, that's the thing, we can look at your story, and that's why sometimes I get just so pissed off with today's society, because we can look at your story, a glass half empty or a glass half full. Now, you sitting here with me, we've done this interview for almost 40 minutes.
Oh my goodness, already?
When you tell me the background, and you told me the kind of money that you were making doing this, constant work, you were in demand. You weren't breaking any laws. You weren't.
I'm a grown adult who made a decision for myself.
You're not hurting anybody. You know what I'm saying? But then having the courage to walk away from that money. When listen, I'm going into a business. I don't know if I'm going to get a booking every 3 months. You don't know wrestling. That's to me, that's the glass half full. This girl walked away from that, left it all behind, and now she's trying to make it in a business that, for starters, is a man's world. And secondly, very, very difficult to break into as a woman. Can you imagine a woman with your background? So now to me, I'm looking at all the positives, and I'm looking at all the reasons why I want to bring, you into my promotion. But God, it's just, China's going through this with the Hall of Fame nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, like I said, if we want to break out the criminal records of half the people in the WWE Hall of Fame, come on. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm just being honest with you. I think it's very unfair. I think you're a sweet girl.
Thanks.
When you explain your story to me, I absolutely, without a doubt, get it. And I'm not going to sit here and judge you. And like I said, to go from that kind of an income to, I don't know when my next booking is going to be. That takes, pardon my French, that takes a lot of balls.
Thank you. I appreciate that. No, it's, it didn't start out this way, but now that I've gotten so deep into wrestling, like, I really see it as an opportunity to show people that, a woman can be in touch with her sexuality and be this sexual person, but also still be a powerful force and challenge the men and stand toe to toe with the men and not be intimidated by them. So, and I want to, I guess, and if I can inspire the younger females,
Absolutely, but that's what I'm saying. It could be a story of inspiration because, come on, how many girls a lot younger than you get caught up in that world?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's really easy to get caught up and you just start on this downward spiral and, and it goes back to society in general of, body image and, feeling that women aren't as equal to men and all that kind of stuff. So, I kind of feel like I've been given this really cool opportunity. So,
Trina, can I give you one recommendation of advice?
Yes, please.
Have you thought about, literally going through the training and becoming full-blown wrestler only because that's going to open up your window of opportunity?
I have thought about training, and I barely skimmed the surface of it. I have been in the ring a few times, but I have thought about that, and I'm definitely open to it. I would, if I went that route, I would probably still want to keep the wrestling limited and just make it for certain females, certain cases of like this past weekend. We'll use that as an example. There's this Barbie doll girl, if you want to call her. I came in this past weekend to maybe take her down a peg or two and get her to realize that she's not above every other female. So if I'm gonna get in the ring, it better be for a good reason.
Well, Trina, just so Bubba Ray and Devon, very good friends of mine. They got an unbelievable school in Orlando.
They do. I've been there.
Yeah, well, if you ever want to go down that road, let me know. See, the only reason I'm saying this is I know how promoters work, and it would be so easy for them to not book you saying, "Oh, we can't afford a manager."
Yeah, just a manager.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's the only reason I'm suggesting that to you. So, if you ever, decide you want to go down that road, look a little bit more into it, just let me know. What did you go down there, just to kind of check it out?
No, the tag team that I manage for Full Impact Pro is they're actually students from the academy. So I would go to the school before our shows and work with my tag team and stuff. So I've been there, and they have some good trainers that I like their approach and I trust them. And that's the one thing for me. For females in general that start training in wrestling, and particularly for me, I'm very picky about who's going to handle me because the guys are already looking at me like, oh, it's the porn star. I get to have my hands on the porn star. So I want to be very careful with who handles me. So, and I definitely felt comfortable and welcomed at Team 3D. So.
Are the guys real dicks to you, or is it just a handful?
A handful.
Just outright rude. Are there some like that out there?
On the indies, nobody's been like really outright rude. There's the ones that obviously try to, are hitting on you and stuff, and yeah. I'm used to it. Whatever. I'll use my tag team as an example. One of them will tell me that he didn't really want to work with me at the beginning. But I think by the end, he would call me, he would say, oh, she's one of the boys. Like he understood that I was there for a reason and for a purpose, and I wasn't just trying to be a stupid girl. So.
Hey, Trina, have you ever done much work on the East Coast? Because I would definitely think on the East Coast, New York, Philly, that area, Jersey, that they would be much, much, much more open.
More open to it.
Yeah. Have you ever gone that route?
I think the only thing as in my voice starting to go now, we've been talking for a while. I think the only things I've done up on the East Coast was when I was working for Dragon Gate and Evolve. I think those are the only shows I really did up there.
Never worked with Dreamer or anybody like that on the East Coast?
I haven't. I know Dreamer. You know, we talk sometimes, but I've never made it to his show yet. And I think I'd be a good fit on there, but I've never made it up there yet.
Yeah, I think you'd be a great fit on there too. That's why I'm asking. Well, listen, Trina, I know you're losing your voice now, and you gave me 45 minutes of what I had left. I don't give up.
Thank you. I won't. I won't.
Yeah, you're not getting, you know, you're not thinking that, are you?
No, not at all. It's not even a thought in my mind right now.
Just
there's so much more that I want to keep doing, and
exactly, just keep pushing, keep doing what you're doing, because like I said, you know, yes, there are going to be
somebody's going to listen one of these days.
Yeah, well, no, there are going to be people that look at the glass half empty, but then you're going to look at there's going to be those people that are going to look at that glass half full and really appreciate what you're doing, because you know, listen, when you talk about, you know, being a, you know, a spokesperson and, you know, younger, I mean, yes, I mean, you can definitely, your story is amazing. I mean, I think it's
an inspiration.
Yeah, no, I think it's so courageous, you know, what you've done. I think you've got a great story, and that's why I would hate to see you, you know, give up. Sometimes, man, you got to fight through it, and the prize is there at the end.
Yes, that's what I just keep focusing on that end goal. And like, I as challenging as this business is, and there's definitely those days where I'm like, I hate this. Why do I do this? But I love it. I love it, and yeah.
Well, Trina, I thank you for joining us today. I thank you for opening up and telling us the story so we know of the background. Listen, I'm rooting for you. I can tell you're a sweetheart of a girl. I think it's very courageous and ambitious.
Don't cross me, man. You haven't seen my dark side.
Now, let's talk about that for a second. Yeah. Can I go on YouTube and see videos and whatnot?
Yeah. Yes, I have a YouTube channel. It's Trina Michaels Videos, Videos. Yeah, that's how you can see all my first stuff from LA. You gotta go.
So, and you're heel 100% of the time.
Yes. I mean, I think with my story, I kind of have to be, you know, I have to be that heel and that bitch to make people listen to me.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at some of the wrestling footage. I'm eager to see that. Give me all your plugs. People that want to follow you. I know you got a huge Twitter following. I don't know if you have Facebook and whatnot. So give me all the addresses.
And you know the funny thing, like, yeah, I hate social media. I think it's dumb. But as Trina Michaels, it's very important. And any locker room that I'm in, I can guarantee you I have more of a following than the entire roster combined. And if promoters would look at that aspect and see like how many people are hearing about their product just because I put one tweet out there, you know, they should be focusing on that and the attention that I'm going to bring to whoever they put me to work with. And that is kind of the sucky thing with being a manager, is it is dependent on me having someone to manage. But the way I kind of look at it is, if you bring me in as like your guest manager, you put me with that person that you're trying to give the big push to. That's what I should be there for. So, but my Twitter plugs. Twitter at Trina Michaels is my main page. I try to keep my wrestling storylines on my other Twitter account, which is at Trina Mania. That's where I kind of keep the storylines going and stuff. So I have two.
Well, Trina, thanks for. Do you have a Facebook?
I do. My friend request box is full, but my Facebook is Trina Michaels. So.
Yeah. Well, Trina, keep doing what you're doing, man. I'm in your corner. I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate that a lot, man.
I believe good things happen to good people. And I believe there are people out there that recognize that. I mean, you got a great story to tell. You can inspire a lot of people, and just keep doing what you're doing. And you surely are a vixen who rules in my book.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, Trina Michaels. And Trina, I hope you come back and visit us again. I'll keep I'll keep in touch with what's happening, with the career. Maybe you'll have a full voice the next time we get in touch. But,
I apologize. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
Making it.
I think it added to the charm. I'll be honest with you. I think it added to the charm. But thanks for joining us, and keep in touch. Everybody will be back here right here next week on Vixens Who Rule.